how do you say that? Contactless cards? Like, I don't know where the emphasis on that word, contactless. It's a very long word.
Yeah, just contactless. I would just give it a flat. Yep.
Contactless.
You will hear me drop back and forth between dual interface and contactless. In the end, I mean, really, it's the contactless functionality of the dual interface card that's the important piece of it.
Okay, so you're speaking a different language to me at the moment, so hopefully our audience understands that just difference.
I'll kind of dig in, or I'll kind of speak to it.
Okay. And if we run out of time and I haven't gotten through the whole thing, I'm still going to jump down to okay, we've got just, 7 to 5 minutes left. Let's get to a couple of questions. So let's just try to move through as we can, keep an eye on the time. But if we miss something, we miss something. And I do always like to get to the question part. So if someone's still talking at 7:20 or 7:23, 2:23, 2:24, expect me to kind of jump in when I hear an opening.
Okay. Now, are you talking about the participant questions or the planted questions?
It doesn't matter. If they don't have any participant questions, I'll use planted, but the idea is to have, show that there's a Q&A component. So if they come from the audience, those will go first unless they don't make any sense. And if we have none of those, then I'll use the feed questions that you provided.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's fine.
Everybody ready to start?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Going to give it a few more seconds. When it strikes 2:02. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good day and welcome to Harland Clarke's Informed Banker webcast series, Cardholder Satisfaction, How to Remain Top of Wallet. This webcast is being recorded and will be provided to you within a few days. If you have questions, please use the chat box located in the control panel. Your questions are private and are only seen by the presenters. I will now turn the call over to Christine Algren with our marketing department at Harland Clarke. Christine, you have the call.
Thank you, Nathan, and welcome to everyone who's joining us today. We hope you'll find significant value in this segment of Harland Clarke's Informed Banker series. The series is designed to cut through the noise and bring you succinct, timely information on topics that are critical to community financial institutions. Those topics are chosen by you, our audience, through the survey feedback you continually provide us. Our next topic, A Marketer's Guide to Justifying Your Existence, will be delivered in 3 segments beginning in April. Part 1 will be entitled Using Analytics to Attract the Right Account Holder, and we'll be discussing the key role of analytics in illustrating a return on marketing spend. Keep an eye out for that invite, which should be arriving in your mailboxes in early April. As for today's presentation, Cardholder Satisfaction and How to Remain Top of Wallet, we're proud to bring you the expertise of Renee Jones and Joel Schlamer of Harland Clarke. They'll be discussing cardholder satisfaction and loyalty as they relate to your institution's ability to keep payments secure and convenient in a post-EMV environment. But first, a little bit about our presenters, and then we'll get started. Joel Schlamer is a senior manager with Harland Clarke Card Services. He has significant experience working with financial institutions to build highly successful card programs for over 18 years. And Renee Jones, our card program manager, who has spent the last 20 years developing, executing, and analyzing innovative marketing approaches for credit card products and services. Thanks for being here, folks. Now let's get started. As an introduction, we understand now that most FIs have completed their card migrations to EMV, and they're now turning their attention back to cardholder experience to increase transaction usage and to make their cards top of wallet. Renee, in a post-EMV environment where FIs can finally get back to managing and growing their card portfolios, what should they be thinking about?
Thank you for having me today, Christine. There are several things that institutions should be thinking about to increase cardholder engagement and satisfaction, a few of which could include refreshing their rewards programs, considering a new product launch, and accenting that with segmentation marketing all of which are designed to drive higher spend and usage. Now, most of these levers can be considered really one-dimensional, meaning they're really geared mostly to credit card products versus trying to maximize cardholder satisfaction for debit and credit together. There are other strategies that we're going to walk through today that FI should be thinking about that's more impactful for both their debit and credit card portfolios. So let's move into the next slide, which is our agenda page. And these are really the key trends that we see that FIs can use for both their debit and credit card portfolios, and it will really contribute towards increasing their customer satisfaction and engagement. The first of which are mobile fraud management tools. I'll just highlight this topic a little bit. With the recent mandates from the associations to provide the alert services for cardholders, card portfolio managers should be thinking about not just mitigating card-not-present fraud, but how to use these tools to drive further usage and engagement. The second is dual interface or contactless cards. Contactless cards are gaining traction among consumers because they are really cutting through the perception of the delay with the chip cards, and they're really seen as more seamless and fluid in the purchasing experience. And the last strategy or activity FI should look at is instant issuance. This has really gained a lot of traction, as a competitive differentiator because account holders are able to immediately walk away from their branch to use their card for daily purchases versus waiting 7 to 10 days.
You know, thanks a lot for that introduction around the points we're going to be looking at today. And I'm sure there are a number of ways that FIs are looking at these issues and tactics that they're going to be leveraging. I want to take a sec to see if we could find out from our attendees what they're doing. If we go to the next slide, we're going to have our poll questions for today, and we'd like the participants to complete where you guys are looking. What are some of your top card portfolio priorities? Are you looking at doing a new product launch, maybe a product extension within your existing portfolio? Are you doing an enhanced rewards program, something to really try and drive the transaction volume? Doing some type of integrated security tools and alert services, as we've been talking about, the dual interface or contactless cards to try and speed transaction rates, and then also the instant issuance solution. So if you guys could take a sec, enter in which one is your top priority right now. Give you a couple seconds. And then once we've got the results in, let's see what we're running into. Mobile security is our top returner. Rewards program, always a popular one, coming in tied for third or fourth, depending on how you do your ratings. The new product developments and extensions, and looking at instant issuance, and then kind of the trailing in the back is the dual interface. So it'll be good talking points there as we're going through these, and these are not dissimilar, and I'm not actually surprised where a dual interface is coming in right now. But as we talk about it, we'll see if that changes any minds here.
That's great, Joel. And given what we've heard from our audience today, why don't we dive into the mobile fraud management tools? Renee, you talked about card-not-present fraud. Can you explain what it is and how a financial institution can use mobile fraud management tools to improve the cardholder experience?
Sure. I'd like to start off by providing a little bit of background about how mobile fraud management tools came about and started surfacing in the card space. With the EMV migration to chip being so successful, card issuers experienced a really dramatic decline in counterfeit card fraud. But what that did is it really shifted the attacks from fraudsters to online activities. And that's where you enter into the room, the card-not-present fraud. And that card-not-present fraud is really those unauthorized transactions that are made on the internet. Now, the volume of the card-not-present fraud has increased according to an IT group study of about almost 100% over the last 7 years. And that's a lot. And so as a response to attempt to mitigate the rise in card-not-present fraud, the associations issue mandates for FIs to provide transaction alert tools for their cardholders to opt into. Now, Visa's their requirement date has just passed. It was this last October of 2016, but MasterCard has an April 21st deadline that's just around the corner. Now, what these requirements do is it really presents an invaluable opportunity for institutions not only to mitigate their fraud losses due to now the card not present activity, but now to take the time to leverage mobile fraud tools to further nurture the cardholder relationships and increase satisfaction and engagement. Just to talk about mobile transaction alerts, they are really another medium that FI should be looking at to offer meaningful contextual information to their cardholders. The ability to send transaction relevant information increases the level of trust, satisfaction, and card usage among the account holders, especially when their FI is providing them these notifications based on their preferences that enable them to maintain purchase continuity. And what it results in is that institution being able to keep their cards top of wallet. Now, there are a couple of statistics I'd like to share with the audience today that really supports this assertion. When expressing concerns about their cardholder experience, security is really one of the biggest concerns among cardholders. About 50% of card users say unauthorized use or insufficient fraud protection is the biggest concern when they're transacting with their card. That's a big red flag for issuers to understand security tools should be one of the primary features to their credit cards or debit cards. Another statistic is 41% of consumers really want to be proactively engaged with managing their cards and card spend. I would assume that that's growing more in the millennial young adult market because this is an audience that really want to manage most, if not all, of their financial transactions through a digital or mobile medium. So what does that mean for institutions? They should really be striving to provide their cardholders with more than just a basic transaction alert notifications. There are a whole host of mobile alert features that positions cardholders to be more informed about their purchase activity, card account status updates, and even there's the ability to integrate special point of sale cross-sell offers. In addition to just getting alerts about purchase and transaction and fraud activity, there are control features that enable cardholders to be able to proactively manage their card use by location, purchases by merchant category, and also, again, the point of service offers. So the mobile fraud management tools really should be considered as a tactic to transform the cardholder transaction experience to be proactive versus reactive. And what it does is it'll meet the need to help ensure that the institution's cardholders experience is secure, controlled, and seamless.
You know, Ray, I think that's really kind of an important piece. I think that purchasing experience, as always, is really an area that FI should be focusing on. And that's why we're really starting to see more attention coming into this, into contactless and as a solution that can be used to leverage that experience.
Joel, would you mind speaking a little to that contactless card? What should an institution consider when they're thinking about whether or not to make a contactless card available to their cardholders?
Well, I think, you know, in the first place, when we're talking about contactless, what we're really referring to is a dual interface card. So a card that has both, and when I'm saying dual interface, I'm already just kind of discounting the stripe because the swipe transaction is the assumption. But in the dual interface world, we're looking at a card that's chip enabled. It has the contact plate for an inserted or dipped transaction, as well as a contactless antenna that allows you to, to run a a proximity transaction, and they're really designed, that whole product is designed to improve the user experience. And I think the real watchword here is ease and speed. There's a real perception out in the marketplace right now that the EMV transaction is taking longer. And in many cases, that longer is really a consumer habit drag. There is some evidence really looking at how processors are handling the EMV transaction that is causing a delay. But in the end, whether it's I take my card out, do I swipe, do I insert, how do I handle that is really, kind of creating a realm where the transaction is taking longer. And that is really the driver here. And what the contactless card is really trying to do is create a seamless, fluid transactional experience where the cardholder can just place the card in front of the reader, the transaction begins, they can use that time to be replacing their card into their wallet and not having to wait for it. And we're seeing some real early adopters where contactless was used in a pre-EMV world, that really in those scenarios we're seeing a greater perception, if you will. From the FI's perspective, I think obviously vendor support is going to be the first thing they're going to want to look at. What is my processor offering and how can I roll this out to my cardholder base? But beyond that, they really need to look at and understand their cardholder demographics. Areas where you have an FI, where you have a consumer base that is more, if you will, either heavy transactors, people using their cards in many different environments. They're not just for big purchases, they're for picking up that coffee at the corner shop, or they're when you're going to the drugstore, etc. Those types of environments, along with ones where you have a very savvy customer base, that is really a good early adopter environment. And people who are doing a lot of low volume or low dollar value transactions is another feeder to it. And what we're really looking at in another sense is the marketplace. What is the marketplace offering up? Do you have a lot of merchants that are currently supporting contactless? The greater the penetration on the merchant side, the better off you are. And then also the openness in the marketplace to other types of contactless payment solutions, whether it's, do you have RFID transactions at your mass transit systems? Are you seeing a higher use of tokenization from different payment methods and other payment competitors? I think really you'll see that as a driver. And really the goal that you should be looking at is seeing if contactless in your environment will help enhance the cardholder experience in the marketplace in general.
Thanks, Joel. That's really interesting stuff. I've heard you talk about managing this cardholder experience through self-serve fraud tools and contactless cards, but how does instant issuance help with the cardholder experience?
And I think here what we're really trying to do with with the instant issuance is we're really, all of these things are tagging on what consumers are looking for and aligning the services with their lifestyle. They want immediate quality services. They want the convenience and they want flexibility. And these tools that we've talked about are really kind of fed to those items. And where instant issue is really targeting on is a couple of points. One is that immediate quality service. They want to be able to have that card in the current transaction. I don't want to have to commit a transaction saying, I want to have my card and then wait for it. They're wanting to be able to have that card immediately and begin their purchase process. And there's a couple of good drivers on that from the financial institution sense. We're seeing some industry forecasting around this that's looking at approximately 50% of financial institution locations will be offering instant issue by 2020. Now, it's obviously forecasting, but what we're seeing here is some pretty good penetration into the marketplace. So instant issuance is really going to start to become a service differentiator. Anecdotally, I was in a branch, one of my financial institution I use, and I was overhearing one of their customers actually talking with the service rep asking for a debit card because he was leaving the country the next day. And I'm listening to this knowing that maybe 200 yards down the street was a branch from a different financial institution that I knew had instant issue, and that whole interaction would have been completely different. The other piece of it that's really driving from the financial institution side is usage. A different ITI survey, or actually study, was looking at user habits for people who had instant issued cards that were given to them right at the branch versus one that was mailed to them. And they were seeing a 32% increase in the usage in the first 30 days of that card in an instant issue card versus one that was mailed to them. So what we're really seeing there are some real numbers that are driving activity, driving revenue, and driving habits for the cardholder as well.
So you started to talk about the benefits to the financial institution for having or employing an instant issuance program. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
You know, and I think it is really, it's a complementary service in any institution's branch transformation strategy. You know, we're really providing an opportunity here where you've got a cross-sell conversation that can be had for the new account holder. You also have time where the account opening is occurring, and it's really going to help them with their activation as well. So if you've got a new account strategy, here you've got a scenario where I'm giving you your card right now, and that's really going to push that top of wallet status. You know, I'm not having to wait, I'm not having to activate. It's going to be useful immediately. And the other piece is, like, you know, when you've got account holders visiting a branch, they're going to be able to get this in place right away. They don't have the interruptions on their purchase experience, and they don't really you don't risk another FI getting their card in the way, if you will. You give them something that's working today, they're going to start building their purchase habits based on that. And really, I think there's some overarching benefits here that we're looking at. You know, it really doesn't, it allows you to have that purchase experience. It allows you to then begin your relationship with the financial institution right then versus, you know, having to wait for 7 to 10 days to get that card in the mail. Obviously, that has increased activation and utilization tied to it. There's the enhanced security of having the card right then versus having to deal with any possible mail interception issues. And beyond that, it gives you a very effective and quick solution for your lost, stolen strategies. You know, you can now have the card right there in the branch. You can create it at that exact moment, even if you're having to then deliver it to the customer remotely. You don't have to wait, you can do it immediately.
Well, that is a lot of great information, Joel and Renee. Thank you so much for your insight. I want to stop there so that we can take a moment to get to some of the questions that have been inputted to us from the audience. And folks, if you did still have a question, please feel free to go to the chat panel on your GoToMeeting, and we'd be happy to get to that question if we can fit it in. So let me see. The first question that we have here says, you talked about transitioning to contactless cards. Is there momentum on the merchant side for that? Is it worth moving forward when there are a lot of places that don't use that technology yet?
You know, I think I'll take a stab on that, and really kind of looping back to the marketplace side of it. There are some areas where it's a little bit more of a stretch, and others where it's really you know, not as far off. Really look at what the marketplace is doing right now. One of the things that's helped drive this is, as new EMV terminals are being delivered on the merchant side, most of these terminals are going out dual interfaced enabled. So they'll have that contactless hardware in there, and it's just a matter of whether they've got it enabled with their merchant processor. So it's really tying into both the consumer trends and the merchant trends. If your consumers are used to contactless cards, either from a pre-EMV world where they were using it in one of the other contactless solutions, that's really going to drive it. I think that's really kind of the biggest piece of it that's going to be driving your strategy as a financial institution.
Thanks, Joel. We have one more question here, and again, if anyone has something that hasn't been answered, please feel free to enter a question in the question panel. But for right now, I will read the last question that I have. The question says, we may currently offer fraud detection services, but how do we know that what we offer is sufficient? Renee, do you want to take that one?
Yes, that's a really good question, Christine. What institutions really need to look at is, operational efficiencies. There's several dimensions to look at it. Operational efficiencies is one of them. Some institutions have whole teams that work strictly on fraud, and they try to be proactive about it. There are certain models that's put in to try to predict and have outreach calls to their cardholders if they see any type of fraud on the account. But I think there's greater value into having these mobile fraud tools where that cardholder gets an alert and can immediately respond to it and let the institution know whether or not that is a fraudulent or legitimate type of purchase transaction. And I think the fact of having a more proactive posture on the behalf of the cardholder raises a level of security from their perspective. They have a better perception of their institution, that they are supporting them in their purchase experience, that it is safe and secure. And again, I'd like to dovetail back, that is a major concern. The cardholder really needs to feel like the card that they're using in their purchases are safe. So I think it's very important to have mobile alert services from that perspective. And then also, to tag on to that, institutions really need to have those card controls. And so that will help also the cardholder have peace of mind that they are controlling their card and they know what's happening. If some of the features that are out there, if I have a young adult on my account and using the card, I can control the types of transactions that they're able to go. So I won't have my daughter going out to, a liquor store versus she should be buying books for school. Or if I am traveling, I can set geographic parameters to know or to set purchases that can happen. Maybe if I'm in Spain, I can turn off the transactions in the United States. So there are a host of just not the alerts that provide that exchange of communication between the institution and the cardholder. That's also those control features that really makes the cardholder feel empowered. And all of that translates into increased confidence and loyalty and really a top of wallet position for that institution.
Thanks. That was a great explanation, and it looks like that did solicit one more question. The question we have, and it should be the last question of the day given the time, is with instant issuance cards, how are reissues handled?
In most cases, and it is a question that is kind of linked into how your financial institution's card management system is set up. How is your core and your EFT processing system set up? Who's handling the kind of the system record, the primary record on it? In general, what you are seeing is that once the instant issuance is completed, and you've done the account setup on your core, your EFT processing system, that just kind of blends in with your normal issuance strategy. So when 2 years, 3 years, what have you down the cycle, you hit your reissuance timeline, that's just being mailed out again to the cardholder. Now, I say that as the usual strategy because it's difficult to manage reissuance in an instant issuance environment. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the majority of institutions are that using a blended strategy. So your instant issuance is really dealing with what's going on today in my branch, what's going on today with my cardholders out in the marketplace to get them back in it. When it comes to that monthly reissuance, it's just off it goes to the central issuance provider. The card is then mailed out to the cardholder directly, and you're off and going.
Thanks so much. It looks like that's all we have time for today. As a follow-up to today's program, you all can expect an email from Harland Clarke or possibly from me directly with follow-up and a survey that will ask you to give us feedback on today's presentation, as well as any thoughts you might have on future topics you'd like us to cover. Renee and Joel, thank you again for sharing with us today. That was fantastic content. And I'd also, more importantly, like to extend a very sincere thank you to the many financial services professionals who made time in their busy schedules to be with us today. I hope to see all of you again at future Informed Banker sessions. Nathan, any closing notes?
Just want to remind everyone that the recording of this presentation will be emailed to you within a week. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks all.